Hello everybody and welcome to a slightly different video. Today we are discussing the development update for Football Manager 25. Now, unless you've been hidden under a rock, you're watching this channel because you like Football Manager, and you will be aware of the development update that was released yesterday, my time, on the 4th of September. We had a previous one in June, and Miles starts off by thanking everyone who read it. And the June one was sort of a, this is all the stuff that's not going to be in FM25, with a snippet of what the new UI was going to look like. There wasn't enough to really make a decision on whether it was good or bad. It just looked like it had tiles that you could go through and come down. And they've released, or Miles has released, it says Miles Jacobson, so he is the one that's written this, has released the next development update. And it's, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to touch on the key points because I think that's what's normal. And this is obviously a different video. I don't normally do these, but I sort of felt like this deserved a video with some opinions. I want to get understanding of your thoughts on it as well in the comment section, so please do let me know. We were streaming live on Twitch. I just started my stream and this blog went live, so we spent a good few minutes going through it and understanding what it was about. But the main headlines of it is that more features are going to be stripped back from FM25, and we still don't know anything that's coming through. And before we go into those, my overarching thoughts about this development update blog post is why Miles thought this was a good thing to do. They're going for a lot more transparency and openness around the game in FM25. I've got some other thoughts we'll come on to around how they announced FM25. We'll touch on that later, but this just seems weird. This takes any hype that anyone had about FM25 and basically gets rid of it. I mean, first off, we'll touch on the point that they've revised their timelines. Let's go in order of this. They're shifting it from the beginning of November release date to the end of November. They said there was going to be an official announcement at the sort of end of September sort of time. The beginning of September. They've shifted that to the end of September, and now they're going to have a couple of extra weeks to go from their normal early November slot to end of November for scheduled release. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I would rather the game came out as complete as possible rather than a buggy mess, which is just going to be horrible to play, and we're all going to be complaining about it anyway. So I'm hoping that 2 weeks that they've given themselves is enough to sort out what they want and what they need to do. However, if there's still a lot of problems to this time, which is the beginning of September, where they were meant to release the date that we could purchase and pre-purchase and actually start taking pre-orders now, is what the blog post says, then really, is that extra 2 weeks going to be enough to solve all their problems? I'm not sure. It's making me very skeptical about FM25, about what they can do. Add into that, the next step is that they have removed international management as part of the game for FM25, which, for me, although I didn't play international management very much, it's a big concern that you take out something which is so fundamental in a coaching Football Manager simulator game, the progress to manage your country, because I don't think many people played it religiously. I think there are people out there that played international management. That's what they like in Football Manager. A lot of us, I think, do the classic play club football. A World Cup comes around, the England job's available, or your home nation job's available. You take them on, you take them to the World Cup, you win the World Cup, you retire. Done. That's international management. And it is crap. And they're in a cycle. I said this on Twitch. They're in a cycle of international management has been bad for years. Nobody plays it. They use the stat that nobody plays it that gives them the justification to remove it because nobody's playing it because it's so bad, and they're stuck in this cycle. And I don't understand why you don't just... Wouldn't it be best to keep it in the game as it is? Even if moving to Unity will take some resource, keep it in the game as it is and improve it for FM26 anyway. Just binning it off seems very, very strange. Now, obviously, if they bin it off and they quantify their resource in a certain way, I have to do load capacity planning at work and things like that. I understand how it works. And I imagine what they're going to do is take a team that is working on a part of the game and put them fully focused on international management for FM26, because that can't go wrong. That has to come back. It has to be better and it has to be good. And they have to get it right because of the LA Olympics, the World Cup will be in FM26 as well, or in 2026. So they have to get it right for that. But I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed because international management is completely gone. Like, it will be in the game, but you can't apply for jobs and get it. So one of my questions is, what the hell does that mean for AI managers? Is Lee Carsley, let's say Lee Carsley gets the England job, is he now the England manager forever? Because if they sack him or he retires, someone's going to have to step up and replace him, but you can't apply for that job. So how is the international management scene even going to work if you can't apply for the job? They're just going to appoint other managers. It seems very bizarre. And then the second point, which sort of leads on to the women's football that we want to touch on, is that I think a lot of people were looking forward to doing international management for the women's game, because it's so big, it's growing. It's what's grown the women's game, is the popularity in the international tournaments and things like that. And you look at England's women's team, you look at the US national women's team, the Brazil women's national team, all of these massive countries that have progressed the game so much for the people that are interested in women's football. And there's always going to be people that be like, oh, how can you prioritise women's football than international football? I'm not one of them. I think, great, get women's football in the game. Everyone should be able to play the game as they want to play it. But that also includes international management. So that's a real big bugbear of mine, the fact that they've completely removed international management. I don't think that's a good decision. It's a big, big stripping of a feature that has been in Football Manager for so long, and people have complained about it for so long, that nobody's played it. So therefore SI can say, well, we're just going to get rid of it because nobody plays it. But nobody plays it because it's rubbish. So yeah, it's very, very strange. It's very, very strange. Right, the next thing, an update to player profiles. They're removing weight from a player's profile for both men and women in the game. Literally couldn't give two shits about this. I never look at a player's weight. And if people are saying they look at a player's weight when deciding if they're going to sign a player or not, you're lying. Like, you're, as Lelujo put out a tweet, you're either a liar or a maniac if you're looking at a player's weight to decide if you're going to sign them. It's never been used. No, I don't think anyone really uses it. Maybe there are a couple of people out there that are like, I like my centre-backs to be tall and strong and have a certain weight. But honestly, if you're getting upset about player profiles not having a weight included in it, I think you need to sort out your sort of aspects in life, because that is just weird. Yes, weight is a measurable thing and can be something in the game that is easily quantifiable, but there needs to be the realization that nobody... I watch a lot of streamers, I watch a lot of videos, I talk to a lot of people about Football Manager. Football Manager is a great part of my life. Like, not having weight in there is totally fine. That is not a problem at all. And then that's about it, really. The big things were, it's been delayed, there's no international management, and weight is being removed from players' profile. But it asks a lot of questions about what do we think as a game playing base. What do we think FM25 is going to be like? Now, I don't want to agree with all those people that are like, FM25 just seems like an FM26 beta, but it does look like that. If you think back to the June blog, everything that has been stripped so far from Football Manager, all of those player modes, whether you use them or not, the fantasy draft, the PvP, all of that stuff being stripped away from the game, and now international management being stripped away from the game, it sort of feels like it's a... not bare bones. Bare bones is unfair. It feels like it's a very stripped back version of a game that for FM26 is going to be superb. Generally, that's sort of how it feels. And there is concern. Most games that get delayed and then push back a release date and then hit that release date aren't finished. They are buggy. They are concerning around how it plays. There's always little minor things that are going to crop up, and that's going to happen anyway. They're moving to a new game engine. It's what is needed in the Football Manager series. It's been needed for quite some time, but this is my biggest problem. When they announced FM24, they announced FM25. So FM24 had a little bit of hype, but all the hype at that announcement was for FM25. The problem with that is that if you then don't deliver an amazing FM25, you will lose a lot of interest from a lot of people around the game. A lot of people put up with FM24. I think FM24 is one of the best versions of Football Manager, by the way. I absolutely love it. I'm still playing it now. It's at the end of its life cycle, and I'm still playing it, and I'm still really enjoying it. But I think the way they announced FM25, they've shot themselves in the foot by announcing it so early that they were going to the Unity, and it was going to be a brand new series, and it was going to be amazing, and the graphical interface was going to change, and the Unity would make it better to be a game they wanted it to be. That seems now like a bit of a faux pas on their part. FM24 was announced, and they said there weren't going to be huge amounts of features because of FM25, and now, as we get closer to the release of FM25, they're saying that FM25 isn't going to have XYZ, and that's a disappointment. As a gamer, I've played games since I can remember, having what was called a BBC computer that played a game that was a learning game for electrical circuits and things like that. It had like the original Frogger on it. It used like the 12-inch floppy, really floppy disk floppy where they originally got their name from. Ever since then, I've been a gamer, and I must have been about 6 then, I think. But it's never a great sign when games have to delay something, delay the release and remove features, and then expect everybody to pay full price. And I'm not saying I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to pay whatever the cheapest price I can get on Steam is, probably. But it's a very interesting blog post to put out. I said this on the stream. I said, what you could do is either sort of slice it up with some good news, because there is no good news in this unless you live in the vicinity of London and you're going to get an invite to go and do the game testing, right? That's the last bit of good news that's in this. I mean, it's saying Miles has had to cancel work trips, cancel holidays, they're removing international management, they're taking their time, they're delaying the release. Everything about this development update, there's nothing in it that gives you hype about the game, and that is a concern. That is a concern. The only upside is that because they are now saying all of these things are going to be removed, it's going to be such a high when they release new features and what the game engine looks like and things like that, that people will forget about all these things being removed. That then leads me on to the next problem, is that in FM26, are they going to say international management is a new feature when it's not a new feature? It's a feature that was removed and is now coming back. So yeah, there's a lot of concern for me around FM25. Am I going to play it? Yes. Am I going to love it? Probably, because I love Football Manager games generally. I love management games, F1 Manager, Football Manager, City Skylines, Civilization, all games like that. I generally love them anyway. I can put up with the bugs, I can put up with the problems and things like that. But this is probably the most concern I've ever had for a Football Manager before release. And I'm intrigued to know what everyone's thoughts are, because a lot of things are being stripped out of this, and that, for me, is a concern. But I don't know, maybe it's all hyperbole, maybe I'm being a little bit too negative for all of this. But I know I'm not the only one. The forums are awash with it. I've seen Lelujo's videos. I'm sure Dr. Benji, Zealand will be putting out things like that. It's sad to see that something as big as international management is being ripped out. I'm excited for the women's game being introduced. That is going to be part of my saves and YouTube stuff that I do next year. But not having international management in there, I think, is going to be a big problem. And then to top it all off, that sentence, FM25 is just a starting point for what is a very exciting long-term project, is meant to fill us with hope. After the article, if you read the whole article and then you end on that, I feel like that's a sentence setting expectation to be low. Like, I read that as a sort of, and again, maybe I'm being negative, I read that as a put up with FM25, it's the first point of a long, exciting project. It's going to be hard. Put up with it, and 26, 27, 28 are going to be really good. I wait with anticipation about what the next update is. We shall see. But thank you so much for watching. Please do leave your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. And let's wait for a bit more FM25 news. But in the meantime, go check out all the stuff. Join us over on twitch.tv/cultureleftfoot. And I'll catch you all very soon. Cheers.